Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So we're starting a little late today, but we're here. Welcome everyone. The last class we had on Maya was 2 days ago. We were talking about how qualifications, we talked about the qualifications to surrender to someone, that don't surrender to someone who's not qualified. That was an interesting discussion. We gave the example that Shastra says surrender to a guru, but not to someone who's not actually a guru. So it's good that you surrender, but you have to surrender to the right person. And we're describing how when certain responsibilities are given to people, it's also their responsibility to find the right people to surrender to. Hold on. We have too much light. Okay, let's see if that works. That's better, I don't know. So, okay. Yeah, so, but we didn't get to read anything. So I want to start now reading. And we haven't been doing kirtan because, I don't know if I could sing, and because I sold all my keyboards. And waiting for another one to come. We actually got another one, but it was so bad I returned it. The reviews were misleading. So, I could try to sing a little bit. Let's see what happens. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Jashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Panachari Jamuna Tira Panachari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. This morning I was listening to a lecture by Prabhupada, and he said, our position is just to make sure Krishna's enjoying. That's it. Our position is not to make sure we're enjoying. It's to make sure Krishna's enjoying. So we're singing about Radha and Madhava coming together to enjoy. Yeah, we're meditating on that, and we want them to enjoy. And that's our happiness. And we're not trying to imitate Radha and Madhava. Well, maybe we are, but we shouldn't. Maybe we are imitating, but we shouldn't be imitating. But we're trying to become purified enough that all we want is to see Radha and Krishna together and happy. Right? Okay, I'm going to warm up my room, because the warmer I am, the quicker I'll recuperate from whatever it is I have. So now, we read on Wednesday we read some things, which I thought we hadn't read before, but probably we have read, and I forgot. And so I'm just going to take up where we left off, and I don't think there's a problem of reading the same thing over. There's always new angles of vision, right? And I haven't been adding more to this document recently. I've been studying other things. So that also helps in going back, so I don't run out of things to read. Okay. You want to hear about being poor? How good it is to be poor? Oh, I've got to get rid of this light. So we're going to read about how fantastic it is to be poor. This will make you all really happy. And if you're rich, this is going to make you really unhappy. Teaching the girls, this is a letter of 1968 in June, written to Purushottama. Purushottama. Teaching the girls to sew nicely is also very good. A very good idea. Take some Indian samples from Purushottama and try to make exactly like that, so that we may make a very good profit for the society. You know, in the beginning, Prabhupada, we didn't have any money, so we was trying to figure out ways we could make money, I guess. I don't know what they were sewing, but he had some idea here. Our society requires millions of dollars for propaganda work. But Krishna has made us financially poor. This is 1968. Very poor at that time. I think it's good to remain financially poor because we always shall be able to pray to Krishna, asking his help to execute his service. Krishna, I have no money. Help me. We have this big festival, and we have to feed 50,000 people. How are we going to do it? If all of a sudden we become very strong financially, Maya may dictate us for sense enjoyment, and we may fall prey to her tactics. Therefore, to remain poor is one of the qualifications for advancing in Krishna consciousness. Our predecessors, the Goswamis, voluntarily gave up everything for advancement in Krishna consciousness. We do not require any money for our personal account. We shall always be happy with anything Krishna is happy to supply us for maintenance. But for the preaching purposes, we can accommodate to receive all the riches of the world. So let us try with sincerity, and Krishna will help us in the matter of our advancing the cause of Krishna consciousness. So he's consoling the devotees because they didn't have much money, and he's saying, well, it's probably better, because in an immature state of Krishna consciousness, if we become wealthy, it's possible we'll misuse it. Or if we become famous, or whatever, we can't handle it. And then Prabhupada goes on to say, but actually we have no problem with money. We just have a problem with spending money on our sense gratification, which, if you don't have it, you can't do it. It's kind of like the drug dealer who becomes addicted to the drugs he's selling. It's always, I don't recommend becoming a drug dealer, but it's one of the liabilities of being a drug dealer. There's drugs around which you could use. So one of the liabilities of having a lot of money is there's a lot of money around which can be potentially like a drug that could buy you sense gratification. And the movement was, when we were young, we were really poor. It was like hand to mouth, day by day. And gradually, Prabhupada said we would become wealthy, because devotees asked him, why are we so poor? You know, there's all these big churches around, and they're not even preaching the real truth. And Prabhupada said, someday you'll become wealthy. And I think it was better that it happened gradually. And most of it happened through book distribution, which means we had to work really hard to get it. But still, we were all, no matter how much money we were making, we would just turn it in. And we were still sleeping on the floor. So that was good. And so the way Krishna works is if there's some if you're a sincere devotee and you're being deviated by some sense gratification, then Krishna will say, okay, let's take it away. If there are resources which you're using well, Krishna will say, let me give you more because you can use it. Because Krishna will say, you can use it because I see that whatever you get, you only use for my service. So let me give you more and more and more. Now you may ask a question, and it's an interesting question. You see there are other so-called gurus and religionists who have all kinds of resources and facilities. Why? Why is Krishna giving them sometimes more than us? Because people want bogus gurus, so Krishna facilitates that. Or people want watered-down religion, so Krishna facilitates that. Obviously, the more strict you are, the more pure your teachings are, the less people are going to follow. The more you water it down, the more you'll get. But Prabhupada, he turned that equation around, and he said that a lot of times. He said, if you're selling diamonds, you can't expect, it's not going to be like a big cheap department store that's packed every day. But then he gave the example of a sweet shop in Calcutta, and they only use ghee, only pure ingredients. And he said, what was the best sweets? They were not cheap, but they were so good that he said there would be big lines down the street to get their sweets. So he gave the other side of the equation. If you have something pure, it's more expensive, it's more rare, you'll have less buyers. But then he said, but if we maintain our purity, it'll become attractive. And more people will come. Because they'll be attracted by the purity. So both things can work at the same time. Sometimes less, sometimes more. But when Prabhupada came to America, I don't know if you know this, he said, I was not prepared to compromise my principles, even if I couldn't make one disciple. Now, how many other gurus who came were prepared to say that? I don't know. But at least Prabhupada was prepared to say that. So he wasn't looking for numbers. And then he would often say, he said, if you have one moon, this is Chanakya aphorism, you have one moon, it'll light up the whole sky. You have thousands of stars, it's not as bright as one moon. So he said, I don't want thousands of disciples, I want one moon. That moon can save the whole world, make the whole world Krishna conscious. So, Prabhupada wasn't coming to America to become famous or wealthy. He was coming to preach purely. And never willing to compromise, even if there was no result. Now you might say, but he did compromise. He didn't compromise, he adapted. But he never compromised on the principles. He may adapt to allow people to practice on their own level, but he didn't compromise principles for them, saying, well, these are not the principles anymore. No, these are the principles. You may not be able to follow them. Follow what you can. So that's adaptability, which is different from compromise, right? So then Prabhupada said, and this is so glorious, we were talking, if you heard class yesterday, in the Russian class, we were talking about the struggles, how Prabhupada was doing everything alone. And when you read those first days of Prabhupada coming to New York, it was so hard. He didn't have a place to live. He was living with some crazy guy who was freaking out on LSD. I think, the guy had his girlfriend over there sleeping or whatever, it was just really horrible. And it's such a glorious story because of that. And Prabhupada had no money, sell a few books just to get, as Prabhupada said, he'd sell a few books just to get enough money to buy something to eat. So, those first days were really a struggle. And that's what makes the story glorious. And that's what inspires us to do austerity in the service of the Sankirtan mission. Because Prabhupada did it, he set the example. But Prabhupada said, at least from what Prabhupada said, it seemed that this was a transcendental arrangement for Krishna to test him. Because every time there's difficulty, it's always a test, and Krishna wants to see what you're going to do. So Prabhupada said Krishna took everything away. And this was right after Prabhupada became Vanaprastha. He had nothing. Krishna took everything away, and he wanted to see what I would do. And then Prabhupada said something funny. And then he gave me everything, and he wanted to see what I would do. But I always felt like this is so instructive for us, because when things are difficult, a lot of times we just give in to the difficulty. But if we think, okay, Krishna's watching me, he wants to see what I'm going to do now. What are you made of? You made of jelly or something stronger? Excuse me. This is Brahmastra juice. I might scream a little when I drink this because it's made with ginger and chili and lemon. And it's definitely screamable when you drink it. So if I scream, don't worry. It's okay. I'm fine. It's a good scream. It means it's helping me. Ah! No, it's not that hot. Oh, I take that back. It is hot. So, have you ever been in a situation or seen a devotee in a situation where they're going through hell, literally, and they just melt down? Or even something more simple, like you're going through hell with your japa, you're chanting japa, and it feels like the burden of the universe is on your shoulders. You can't, it's hard to get the mantra out, and you just don't want to chant. Maybe we could write a song like that. Did you ever feel like to get the next mantra out was like lifting the weight of the universe? So we've all felt that way. And one of the consoling meditations when you feel that way is to think, Krishna's watching me and he wants to see what I'm doing now. So, this perennial question, what do you do if you have no taste and you're just chanting? And, sometimes you could do anything. You could try anything, everything you ever heard, every japa, namacharya teach you, you could do it all, and sometimes nothing helps. You've probably had that experience. I tried this attitude, and then I stood up, and I read this shloka, and nothing helped. Absolutely nothing helped. And I'm just chanting, and it's tasteless, and I don't want to do it. It's at that moment, this is the perfect thought, is Krishna's watching me now. He wants to see what I'm going to do. Maybe it's Krishna who took away the taste. Maybe it's not your fault. Maybe Krishna just wants to see, what are you made out of? Jelly or steel? When things are, you just melt. You just have no substance, no form, no spine. And it's interesting, if you try this when you're chanting and you're just thinking, okay, I have no taste, but Krishna's watching me and he wants to see what I'm going to do, so I'm just going to continue and I'll do it for his pleasure. Sometimes when you go into that mood, everything changes. It's really interesting because now you're not even trying to change your experience. You're just trying to change your attitude slightly, and then your experience changes. So that's really, this philosophy is really very, very practical when you apply it to japa. But as we were saying before, when life happens and it's a tough punch, it knocks you off course, and you just feel like, I can't do this. What's the use? I've tried. This is so hard. Or I'm so discouraged because I've been knocked off course. Whatever. Don't go Go with this thought. Krishna is watching me now. He's looking at me, and he wants to see what I'm going to do. And that can inspire you to get up and try again. And say, Krishna, I'm not going to give up. And when you consistently do that, Krishna says, you're my man, you're my woman. We're gonna make it work for you. We're going to inspire you. So that's something to consider. And so, in your life, there may come a time, or there may already have come a time, in which Maya or Krishna, depending how you see it, puts allurement. What are the big three allurements? Well, it's the opposite sex, it's money and fame, and they all kind of are varieties of the same thing. They work well together, you know. Like, what's the use of being famous if you're poor? And what's the use of being famous if you can't get all the pretty girls, right? So, you know, and if you have money, you can get the pretty girls. And if you're famous, you can get the pretty girls. That sounds like a joke, but I'm totally serious. So, sometimes, due to circumstances of life, one of these three may show up in front of you, or your specific form of Maya that could easily break you. We all have a specific form. Just think about this. That's an interesting question. Before I go on, I'll give you the question. If you were Maya, and we had asked this question before, if you were Maya, to keep the devotees in Maya, what would you do? But this is a different question. If you were Maya, and your job was to keep you in Maya, I mean, you know, you think, well, if I'm Maya, how can I be me? But anyway, it's theoretical. But if you were Maya, and your job was to keep you in Maya, what would you do? Which is basically another way of saying, what is the weakness where Maya could attack you? You know, like, what's your weakest link? Like, if you're a boxer, where's your weakness? You leave yourself open. When you make this punch, you leave yourself open, or whatever. So, attack yourself if you were Maya to get you. Okay, so that thing, whatever that thing is. So, when that thing shows up, whatever that is, whether it's fame, money, the opposite sex, or a specific thing that is like, you know, if I were in this situation, I would probably forget Krishna for a while. Or if I were in this situation, it would be very difficult, or extremely difficult, or almost impossibly difficult to maintain my Krishna consciousness. Whatever that is, you know what that is. I mean, I hope you someday become advanced enough and you say, there isn't anything. I wouldn't submit to any form of Maya. But until that day comes, think about this and think, if that ever happens to you, then remember this class. Krishna is watching me, and he wants to see what I'm going to do now. And maybe sometimes Krishna brings that thing and drops it in front of you. And I don't know if you've ever been in a situation like that, where that thing which you like so much shows up, and you're thinking, Krishna, why did you do that? You know this is my weakness. Have you ever been in that situation? Like, it's like, it becomes obvious it's not Maya. It's like obvious it's like Krishna, and Krishna's like, okay, I'll just sit over here I have a chair over here. I'll just sit over here, and I just want to see what you're going to do now. And whatever that thing is, that is your death knell for Krishna consciousness, you take it, you purify it, you use it in Krishna's service, or you just ignore it and walk right by it. And Krishna says, that's my man. Okay. He just earned my mercy. So that's how you want to think. Not like, oh, I can't go on anymore. It's so bad. Why? It's so unfair. someone sent me this story, how Karna was like complaining to Krishna, look at, I couldn't get Draupadi because because it appeared that I'm actually a Kshatriya, but it appeared that I was born a Shudra, and this and that, and I was rejected here and rejected there, and this, that, and then he was just going on and on. You know what Krishna said? Look at me, I was born in jail, and my parents had to, get rid of me, and all these demons were trying to kill me. Every bad thing, excuse me, every bad thing that happens to people, they blame me. Krishna was going on and on. He had more things than Karna had. It's like so funny. He says Krishna's going on and on. This happened, this, and I get in trouble for this, and then I had to, leave Vrindavan and miss my family and this and that. And it's like people just herding cows and Krishna told Karna, it's like, stop complaining, stop whining. So, one time, I think I was complaining about why I couldn't do something. I don't know if I was complaining, but I was explaining to a devotee why I couldn't do something. And there's this you may have heard of him, super self-development guru named Tony Robbins, who's like, look at, you can make it happen if you think in the right way. So I said something, and he said, if you just said that to Tony Robbins, what do you think he would tell you? And I know exactly what he would tell me. This is a bunch of nonsense. He wouldn't use that word. He'd use something more graphic, more striking, whose initials are BS. And so, sometimes when you're making all your excuses for being a Maya, then you can stop and think, okay, what if I told this to Krishna? What do I think he would say? He might say something like, shut up, Prabhu. Just continue. No, Krishna wouldn't say it like that. But you get the idea. If you very, very helpful. Krishna's looking at me. Oh, my Govinda, if I told him how I'm feeling right now, all these excuses, what would he say? Well, we know what he would say because he said it all to Arjuna. I mean, he didn't directly tell Arjuna to shut up, but, wow, interesting sound effects with the heater. But, he told Arjuna, you don't know what you're talking about. Basically, Arjuna, stop whining and just fight, okay? I mean, Krishna was nicer than that, but that's basically what he was saying. So, yes. So now, life is difficult. Have you noticed life is difficult? You've seen that, right? You've noticed it too? Oh yeah, amazing. I didn't know if you noticed it. Sometimes life is difficult for you too, sometimes? Oh really? I thought I was the only one. When I was young, about 18, there was a draft to take us to Vietnam, and you had to register with the military. Same time I was applying to university. And a couple other things were going on in my life. And I hit overwhelm. I couldn't handle it. I remember it was like the world was crashing. They're going to send me to Vietnam. Am I going to get accepted in this university? Et cetera, et cetera. So we all been hit like this as teenagers, just smashed, And at that time, please, 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 just think, Krishna is looking at me, and he's giving me an opportunity to show him what I'm made of, and show him that nothing's going to stop my bhakti. No amount of money, no amount of attraction to the opposite sex, no amount of success, no amount of fame, no amount of position. What else? No amount of sense gratification. Nothing's going to stop my bhakti. That's how we have to think. Okay, so that's the message I got from reading this. The last thing Prabhupada says, let us try with sincerity, and Krishna will help us in the matter of our advancing in the cause of Krishna consciousness. And we have discussed this many times. And I just wanted to point out, it's just another time Prabhupada is saying the same thing. Krishna will help you. Krishna will help you. Be sincere, Krishna will help you. It's like a theme song. One of Prabhupada's theme songs. Yeah. Could write a book, Prabhupada's theme songs. This is definitely one of them, for sure. So I'm going to read the next lyric. This is about Subhadra. Shubhadra. Shubha means auspicious. This is a letter written in July of 1968. Where was I? Where were you in July of 1968? Most of you were not born in this body. July of 1968, I was going to a school called UCLA. Shubhadra is Yogamaya. The spiritual energy is called Yogamaya. And she has 16 different expansions. Out of these 16 expansions, Shubhadra is one. The Mahamaya of the material energy is also expansion of the energy of Yogamaya. And both Yogamaya and Mahamaya are equally important to Krishna, as much as any government department is equally important for the functioning of the government. The police department may be horrible for the criminals, but to the government, it is a department as good as the university department. Similarly, Mahamaya is horrible to the conditioned soul, but to the liberated soul, there is no fear of Mahamaya because he is protected by Yogamaya. In other words, there is no Mahamaya for the liberated soul, there's only Yogamaya. And Mahamaya is just the external feature of Yogamaya. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita when Krishna said the following, quote, I am not visible to everyone on account of being curtailed by Yogamaya. Naham prakasha sarvasya, that's the verse. So when a conditioned soul surrenders to Krishna, the Yogamaya winds up the curtain and Krishna is visible to the devotee. Wow. Won't that be a nice day when you see Krishna? Okay, it's time to roll up the curtain of Maya. And there's Krishna standing behind it. Hare Krishna. The thing that we are trying to understand is that I see Maya like, have you ever gone to a store and the store is so bad there's like nothing in the store you would even buy? And you're looking for certain things. You go to these different departments in the store and you're looking for something and the products they have are so bad you just wouldn't, even though you need certain things, so they have the products, you wouldn't even buy them. And you've shopped there before and you bought the products before and you're disappointed. Or you ever see these ads, get this new product, greatest discovery, you do this, all the fungus on your feet will go away in 3 hours, and you do this, all the wrinkles will go away in 3 days, and you do this, and this flashlight will, it'll take you to the moon, and, you can see, this and that, and then you get the product, and it's like, oh my God, this is a piece of junk. Or it's not a piece of junk, it just doesn't do what it said. So Maya is a bit like that, you know. It's like all these products that are just they don't do what you need them to do. They don't work the way they're supposed to work. They're not what they said they were. Do you ever buy something like that? You open the box, and the box looks really funky, made in China, and you take it out and you look at it and you go, oh my God, this is a piece of junk. Well, Maya's like that, you know. You finally take a bite into Maya and then you go, oh my God, this is not what I thought it was. So the question is, when are we going to understand that it's like that is not the store to shop in? Shop in the Krishna, go across streets, shop in the Krishna store. And everything there is good quality. Yeah. So that's what we're trying to understand. That's what Prabhupada's saying here. Yeah, don't shop in Maya store. Okay. This is we're still in 1968. And it doesn't say, this is August, but it doesn't say who it's to. Oh, it's to Brahmananda. It's a long letter. August 22nd. Where were you August 22nd, 1968? What were you doing? I was suffering at UCLA. That's what I was doing. Sitting in a chemistry class, a French class, what else? Probably an English literature class. Walking around thinking, what am I doing here? And the answer was, as long as you stay here, you don't have to get a job. Okay, that's why I was there. So, this is to Brahmananda, 68 of August 1968. I beg to thank you very much for your note, along with the paperback cover of Bhagavad Gita, as it is. I have very much appreciated the whole thing, the design and the painting and everything so far. Swami Bhaktivedanta, it is not an important thing. The Swami title can be given in the beginning or in the end. That doesn't matter. In other words, Bhaktivedanta Swami or Swami Bhaktivedanta. Allen Ginsberg used to call Prabhupada, or used to address the public when he was introducing Prabhupada as Swami Bhaktivedanta. So you need not be very much worried about it. Allen Ginsberg was a famous poet that was favorable to the devotees in the 60s. So far, my name being inserted just on the left hand of the Lord is also very much appreciated. It is not exactly on the head, the left arm. So we're the arms of the Lord because we are fighting against the influence of Maya, or the non-devotees. Actually, we, the Krishna conscious people, are soldiers of the Lord, or arms of the Lord. And because we are energy at the same time, because all living entities are energy of the Lord, so energy is always kept on the left side. As you have seen, Radharani is also on the left side of the Lord. Similarly, Lakshmi Ji is also kept on the left side of the Lord. So we are all marginal energy. Not exactly like Radha Ji or Lakshmi Ji, but we are superior energy than matter, or material energy, so we should keep ourselves always on the left side of the Lord and let us act as his arms or army. I've also noted with pleasure the description of the jacket for the hardbound edition, and I understand my photo will be there. And sold at $6.95. And you are expecting advance copy. This is the first Bhagavad Gita, I believe, printed by Macmillan. It's a big publisher in America. So here, this analogy, we're fighting a war against Maya. The Prabhupada uses this analogy. Here, he's using it. We're soldiers. Who are we fighting? We are, we said we're fighting Maya. Or Prabhupada saying, we're soldiers fighting against the influence of Maya. So both we're fighting Maya in our personal lives, and we're also fighting the Maya as she's influencing the world in our preaching work. So, there is this soldier analogy. And as I've said, I think I said this week or last week, it's good to understand that when you become a devotee, there is some battle that's going on, and you can't sit down after you declare battle. So, sometimes you think, why is it so hard? Well, you declared battle. Why is this person punching back? Because you decided to punch and say, I'm not going to serve you anymore. So now they punch back. No, I'm going to keep you in my clutches. So, whenever you say, why is it so hard? Why does it have to be so difficult? Well, you're punching, and they're punching back. But as Prabhupada many times said, Maya is happy to stop punching, but she wants to make sure you've actually defeated her. And then she'll stop punching. But at least for some time, there's going to be punches because it's a war. And Prabhupada often said, it was interesting, maybe you've heard this, sometimes devotees would complain that there were a lot of bad articles or a lot of negativity. And in some cases, Prabhupada said, that's a good sign. It means they're feeling the weight of our movement, and there's a push. They're pushing back because, we're telling people to not do the things that are basically the mainstays of materialistic culture. Alcohol, sex, gambling, meat eating. So he said, naturally there'll be pushback. And he said, that pushback means we're actually succeeding. The more the force is against us, he said, that's proof we're succeeding. If there's no force against us, that means nobody's worried about us. So sometimes when Maya is pushing, it means actually we're succeeding, and she doesn't want us to succeed, so she's trying to stop us. Where if we're not succeeding, she doesn't have to do anything because we're not really pushing. So she doesn't have to push back. So don't always think that when Maya pushes, it's a bad sign. It may be actually a good sign also. I don't always think of it, and then when there's obstacles to the preaching, it's a bad sign. It may be a good sign. That, as Prabhupada said, they're feeling the weight of our movement. They're taking note. They're pushing back. They don't like it because it challenges the basis of their culture. So it's something to note. But the main point I'm making is if you're pushing to get out of Maya, expect she's going to push back and be ready for it. If you're going to punch somebody in the face, better be ready for them to punch back, right? I mean, if you're going to punch them in the face and you're not ready for them to punch back, you better knock them out. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble. Hare Krishna. Okay, let's see what you have to say. There's a couple comments here. Ajanitai. Gurus who do not follow Vedic philosophy strictly are fallible or infallible. They are not gurus. There's so many gurus in India don't have a parampara. They're not coming in disciple succession. So, if someone's not following disciplic succession, then they're not guru. So there's no question of following someone who's not a guru. And if they are guru, there's no question of not following. And fallibility, we may be fallible, but what we say is infallible. And the person we're serving is infallible. Ajanitai, look, if you study Prabhupada's life, you'll find in 1967, Prabhupada had a heart attack, and he went back to India. He wasn't recuperating in America, and he went back to India. And there was a sense that he may not return. So it was a very heavy time for the devotees, and he said, even if I don't make it, you now have Krishna consciousness distributed around the world. He was like handing over, in a sense, handing over the movement. Because if I can't come back, if I don't make it, if the condition gets worse, or I'm somewhat incapacitated, then it's in your hands. And whose hands was it in? These brand new devotees who knew practically nothing, but they knew the basics of Bhagavad Gita. And Prabhupada said, now take it around the world, spread it, it's in your hands. Later on, he came back, he recuperated, he was really doing well. And then I think in 1968, he said, hopefully by 1976, you'll all be initiating your own disciples. So, you may look back and say, well, the devotees were not really ready. And they weren't, because 76 came and nothing changed. But Prabhupada was thinking like that. And so what was his thinking? I've given you this knowledge. You repeat what I've given you. And we will be successful, and you will be infallible in that sense, because what you're giving is infallible. So, this whole calculation of how advanced is this guru over that one, and it was not the way Prabhupada taught this topic. At least not the way he explained it to us. He said, if you know the signs of Krishna, if you live according to those teachings, if you can give those teachings to others, you're a guru. And he would sometimes say, it's not a difficult thing. And then we make it such a, obscure, impossible thing to be guru. Then how does Krishna consciousness spread? We all don't speak because we feel we're not qualified. That was never how Prabhupada presented it. He was always like, go out, do it now. You hear from me, repeat in your own words, according to your realization, what I've taught you, and now go out and share it. That's what he taught us. So, now those who are not Vaishnavas, those who don't come into cyclic succession, what they speak, who knows? How much is true, how much isn't true, how much is their own idea? That's not the standard. Okay, I think is that all the comments we have? Okay, I'm going to read more. Oh, we have another comment. So, August 1968, Kirti says, I was probably an old man. Or old woman, because I guess you were born in the early 70s then, huh? Okay, so we'll read some more. This is a letter from September 68. Regarding encroachment by Maya, there is every possibility at every time, because we are living in the kingdom of Maya. Her influence upon us is very strong. But as indicated in Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter, that in spite of her very great influence over the living entities, a living entity, as soon as he fully surrenders unto Krishna, the influence of Maya will no more act upon him. This is a fact. So the more we become stronger in our Krishna consciousness, the more Maya is aloof from us. Maya has enough people, to keep her busy. She doesn't need you. But if you show interest, she'll show up. You called? Maya, what are you doing here? Well, you called, right? Maya comes in the form of deviating your consciousness from Krishna. She's really good at it, get you caught up about something, thinking about it, dwelling on it, something which is just destructive. It may not be destructive, it may just be a time waster, or it may be destructive. So be careful. She comes in subtle ways. You may not feel, I'm not in Maya, I'm not feeling, the pangs of material energy pulling me into sense gratification. You just may be completely distracted from Krishna. That's another way she does it. What is Prabhupada saying? Well, don't be surprised, you're in the kingdom of Maya, so, this is what happens here. Then Prabhupada quotes 7th chapter, Daivyesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Dharatya. This is such an interesting verse. The first half of the verse says, you can't cross Maya. The second half of the verse says, you can. Interesting. Daivyesha Gunamayi. Daivi, this divine energy, Maya is divine because it comes from Krishna. Daivyesha Gunamayi, this 3 modes of nature. Mama Maya, this energy of mine, Duradya, it's impossible. You can't conquer it. It's impossible. Don't try. You will lose. Don't waste your time. But, Mam eva ye prapadyante, if you surrender to me, Maya me tantarantite. You can walk right over it. No problem. It's easy. Isn't that an interesting verse? I'm going to, figure out Maya and conquer Maya, by my own strength. Don't try. It's impossible. Krishna, this verse, Krishna is saying, there's no way anybody can conquer Maya. Nobody has done it, No scientist has done it. Did they design a pill or a tank you could walk in and, immediately you're transcendental to birth, old age, disease, and death and all the effects of the modes of nature? No. What Krishna is saying in this verse is that this world is governed by the 3 modes of nature, and you can't get beyond it. There's nothing you can do. No pill, no machine, no scientific discovery, nothing. And you can spend the rest of eternity thinking you'll discover something, that's going to make you eternal or free you from the influence of your own conditioning. Sorry. Krishna has given certification here. Not possible. Don't waste your time. So then how do we do it? Well, get out of your laboratories and start chanting Hare Krishna. Then you'll become eternal. You're trying to find some medicine that'll make us eternal. Don't waste your time. Maya me tantarantite. Surrender to me. Then no problem. You'll become eternal. I'll take care of it. You can cross over it. So it's a beautiful verse. Basically in this verse, Krishna is saying, don't try to fight Maya. You can't win. But if you want to pick a fight with Maya, let me fight her for you, because that's the only way you can win. So don't try to do it yourself. It's so interesting. The 12-step program, which has also been adapted in other forms as a recovery from addiction. There are different kinds of addiction, not just alcoholism, but it could be shopping addiction, gambling addiction, sexual addiction, codependency addiction. But the general situation with addiction is that the addicted person cannot help themselves on their own. They can't. If they could, they wouldn't be addicted. And some people are just addicted to the mode of ignorance. They can't get anything right. They can't get their lives together. They're like 30, 40 years old, and they can't hold a job. They can't get an education. They can't live in one place. It's just horrible. And so in that recovery movement, they don't focus on your strength. They focus on God's strength. And they say, you can't, they have a saying, I'm powerless over my addiction, which is true. Because once they're addicted, and if they've not been able to overcome it on their own, it means they're powerless. And so the whole idea is that I need a power. I need another power because my power doesn't work. I need a power that's higher than me to overcome this. So it's actually the same principle as this verse. So in the recovery program, they say, it's not self-help, it's God-help. That's the idea. It's not self-help, it's God-help. Yes. Ajahn, I'm not sure where you're going with this conversation. Krishnadas Karva says he's below stool. Yeah, he's manifest. To say I'm below stool is a manifestation of ecstasy, of prema. So, probably don't try to meditate on it too much and philosophize it, because it's not really what you think it is. Gita says everyone in this world's fallible, everyone in the spiritual world's infallible. But if you hear from a pure devotee, then your knowledge is infallible. And you will become infallible someday by following that. So that's the idea. Self-help versus God-help. So, Prabhupada has said many times, he said, don't think you're so smart. Don't think you're so strong. And what did he mean? Well, don't think that you can conquer Maya. Don't think you can outsmart Maya. Don't think you can hide from Maya. Don't think you can make a deal with Maya. Don't fight Maya head on. Fight Maya through shelter of Guru and Krishna, through transcendental knowledge. That's the idea. Because every time you think you can fight Maya and you think you're strong, you know what's going to happen? You'll lose. That's what Krishna means by that verse. Davyesha guna Maya, you will lose. I think I just answered your question, Gopalananda. If we cannot conquer Maya, then why fight Maya? Or should we make Maya our friend in Krishna consciousness? Or is there a time Maya actually assists Krishna? Why fight Maya? Because she'll destroy you if you don't. But Krishna will fight for you. Or if you want to use the example of fighting, it's just you have to know how to fight. And so you have to get on Krishna's side, then you're okay. But yeah, you have to fight, but you can't fight directly. It's not going to work. It's just not going to work. Okay. Let's read a few more. See where these quotes take us. This is from September 68. I see you are feeling not well. I advise you, therefore, to come and live with me so that you can be freed from doubts. This is interesting. I don't know if you know this. But sometimes when devotees had difficulty, Prabhupada would say, come, stay with me, travel with me. Because he knew that by staying with him, they'd be fine. I hope you're chanting regularly at least 16 rounds. Sometimes Maya disturbs us, but that does not mean any serious drawback. So if you feel too much uneasy, you can come and live with me for some time, and everything will be set up. Well, one way to look at this is it appears that this devotee, kind of feeling helpless in the hands of Maya, but doesn't know what to do, doesn't know how to deal with it. In spite of all the instructions Prabhupada has given, in spite of everything. So then Prabhupada is like saying, okay, this is like ice, come with me and live in the IC unit, because being with Prabhupada could cure anything. So when all else fails, Prabhupada would offer that to some devotees on occasion, just stay with me. What we can take from this is that if you're in a difficult situation and you're trying to deal with it but you're unable, you may need another strategy. And so here Prabhupada's giving another strategy. Okay, what you're struggling where you are now, it's not working, so let's try a different strategy. That's the idea. So, so if you're in a situation, you've been struggling with something, it's not working, then probably best to think strategy. I need to do this, I need to get to this place, I need this association, I need whatever it is you may conceptually feel you need, is going to be some adjustment to what you're doing, because what you're doing is not enough. And the alternative to that is to give up. I can't do it, I've tried everything. Probably haven't tried everything. There may be something. I used to live in Vrindavan. And Vrindavan was often the last resort for some people who had been beaten down by Maya, and they couldn't really pick themselves up again. And you would see them come to Vrindavan, and it looked like, this is how I would describe it, like a clinic where people who are critically ill come because the doctors have given up on them, and they just walk in like, okay, I'll try this because doctors have given up on me. So they just drag their feet into the clinic because they heard that this clinic can actually save people who are critically ill. I've seen devotees come to Vrindavan like that. It's just like they're dragging in, like this is, if this doesn't work, nothing will work. And they come in, their faces are dark, depressed, and they kind of look doubtful, like anything can happen. And a few days later, you see that they're very bright, they're very happy. So, you always want to try some situation. If something doesn't work, try something else. 16 rounds, maybe it doesn't work. 25, 32, 64. This service is not inspiring, maybe another service. This association is not helping, maybe other association. But don't give up. Always look for a solution. That's important. And so that was Prabhupada's solution, Come, stay with me. So here's a letter from November 1968. Where were you in November 1968? Where was I? I think I was in Berkeley at that time. Yes, it is your good fortune that you can serve Krishna in so many ways. To work, to write, to speak, to paint, to build. All of these talents must be employed in Krishna's service. That will make you perfect. Who is this letter to? Shyamasundar. He likes to build. He likes to write, speak, paint. We're so fortunate to be in this human form of life and to have the opportunity and the capacity to serve Krishna. As there is very little time, we must do as much as we possibly can to serve Krishna and to become always engaged in thoughts and activities of Krishna. Maya may try to pull us from Krishna's service and try to engage us in her service, but we must simply persevere and try to do as much as possible for Krishna each day And gradually it will be easier and easier to be engaged, to keep engaged in Krishna conscious activities. And pray to Krishna to please keep us always engaged in the service of his lotus feet. Krishna is very kind, and he is never ungrateful, and will give you more and more opportunity to serve him. That is his mercy. So this is a beautiful letter, because the first thing Prabhupada is saying, he's saying Maya is strong, but he's not making that something negative. But on the contrary, he's saying Maya is strong, but we're so fortunate that whatever we like to do, we can do for Krishna. We can engage it in Krishna's service. And it's our great fortune that we can do that. And it's our great fortune, we'll be happy doing that. So rather than think, oh, this is Maya's kingdom and everything is bad, Prabhupada's turning it around and saying, well, this is such a nice opportunity that we have human life and we can do everything for Krishna. So be positive about it. We're fortunate. And we all have talents we can use in Krishna's service, so we're all fortunate. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then Prabhupada's saying, again, we're fortunate to have a human form of life and have the capacity and opportunity to serve Krishna. Mm. And then Prabhupada says, Maya may try to pull you, but be fully engaged in service every day, as much as possible. So, basically what Prabhupada's saying here is, appreciate the fortune you have that you can serve Krishna. Appreciate the opportunity that you have a human form of life and you've come in touch with devotional service. And relish that and be inspired by that. Otherwise, it's possible we could just simply be discouraged by Maya. Oh, Maya's so strong, blah, 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 blah. Sky is falling. Oh, no, it's so hard to be a devotee. And Maya's so strong, and I'm so stupid, and I don't have the desire. Keep making the same mistake. Yeah, if you think like that, you will, it's like you're digging your grave with that. But Prabhupada's saying, no, it's not like that. Look at your opportunities. You can serve Krishna in so many ways. What a fortune. That is very, very important. Don't you think that's important? Because the other side is always potentially there. Yeah, but it's so hard, and so many devotees have left, and it's trying to establish a Indian culture in the West, and it doesn't work, and then you got all these fanatics who are trying to make it work, and then you got these ultra-liberals who are watering everything down. It's just a mess, and so many devotees, they got initiated, and they can't follow, and so many gurus have fallen, and who knows how many more are going to fall, and then there's so many temple presidents, they're not really qualified. And yeah, if you talk, I don't want to put ideas in your mind, but if you talk like that, what's going to happen to you? I don't even want to think about what's going to happen to you, because it's not going to be pretty. Now, Prabhupada is saying, rather than think like that, we should think, I'm so fortunate. I have the opportunity to serve Krishna. And that will inspire you. Right? Of course, Maya wants you to think the first way, but she doesn't want you to be inspired. So Prabhupada is the ultimate inspirer, and Maya is the ultimate, what's the word? Party pooper? Pessimist. Yeah, Maya's like the ultimate pessimist. Yeah, you're trying to be Krishna conscious. Who are you trying to fool? It's like nobody could do it. Maybe a few devotees, but everybody else, they're just pretending, just faking it. And big smiles, they're actually miserable. They're going home and just watching cats on Facebook do cute things, and they're not happy, and they're not reading Prabhupada's books, and your mind is just like, this is impossible, nobody can do it, and you totally talk yourself out of it. But what's the point? And Prabhupada's saying, whoa, this is a fantastic human being. I can serve Krishna. How fortunate I am. I have Bhagavad Gita. I have pure devotees, Sangha, temples. This is all so fortunate. So fortunate. Yeah, just remind yourself that you're fortunate. Because if you don't, Maya will say, you're useless, loser. We could make a video, right? You wake up in the morning, you look in the mirror, and this voice starts talking to you, and then you have this voice, another day to serve Srila Prabhupada. I'm so fortunate that I've come in touch with the Krishna conscious movement, and I can use my writing skills and my artistic skills and my building skills. Serving Krishna, we're going to do this service, this voice is going on. And you do another video, and the other voice goes on, oh, look at you, loser, just go back to bed, Who are you trying to kid, trying to be a devotee? You can't do that. You're just fake. They're all fakes. And so, which voice do you want to hear? The thing is, the voice that you hear becomes your reality. It has nothing to do with reality, but that voice becomes your reality. Jainitai says, I was reading negative articles like that, but since I focused on book distribution and listened to your lectures, I stopped doing it. Nobody's perfect. There's a few very mentally deranged people who I think have permanently moved in, built a house on the internet, and every word that comes out of their mouth gets typed onto the internet. And everything they say is all pure, 100% unadulterated, uncontaminated Vaishnava aparad. You won't find a trace of anything in their talk other than aparad. And I will make you a promise today, and I will give you a money-back guarantee if you're still alive after you listen to these people, that hearing them will severely damage your devotional creeper, if not destroy it. These people are not Vaishnavas. These people are, from what I've studied, okay, I can't say all of them, but there are a few that are very outspoken, and they have different pseudonyms, so you think it's different people. But the ultra offensive ones, who just ramble and make up stories, and if you get up at 4:01 a.m. instead of 4, there was a big article about you, how you're in Maya because you're a guru and you got up at 4:01 a.m. and we've just exposed you. I mean, seriously, it's like that. These people have serious mental issues, serious emotional issues, serious traumas and dysfunctions to spend their whole life doing that. And if you listen to that stuff, and it's out there and there's plenty of it, you're going to be affected by it. Guaranteed. You cannot not be affected by it. And if you listen to it enough, you will lose faith. Now, there's others who are not so bad. They just kind of make you feel like everyone in ISKCON is really not qualified, and only their guru is qualified. The others say, only Prabhupada's qualified, no one else. The others say, well, pretty much no one in ISKCON is qualified except our guru. So it kind of, it's the same type of thing. It puts doubt in your head and heart. And then you start making criticisms. And then when you start criticizing, then your creeper gets affected. So that's my ironclad money-back guarantee. If you listen to them, you will be negatively impacted, if not destroyed. And you could even end up like them. And to think that such people are pleasing Prabhupada, they're doing it. Greatest damage in the name of where they're trying to save ISKCON. They're just ripping Prabhupada's heart apart. I can't, sometimes their stuff comes up when I'm doing a search, but I just feel like they're throwing knives into Prabhupada's heart. It's so painful that they're criticizing the devotees who are so dear to Prabhupada. Lavanga says, I once heard a devotee say, don't think of all the ways in which you are not attached to Krishna, but you have the human form of life. Just do at least one thing every day that inspires you in Krishna consciousness. Yeah, it's good advice. If you think of all the negatives, it makes you more negative. If you think of the positives, it makes you more positive, like you say here, even if it's only one positive. It's still, that one positive is powerful enough to keep you going. Okay. And I have a positive. I am positively tired. So we're going to end class here. You could probably tell I'm tired, right? Is that talking kind of slow? Yeah, I don't know. I woke up tired this morning. I don't know if I'm going relapsing or what, but I am positively tired. And I hope I didn't bore you in my tiredness, but I think I will need to rest a little bit. So you're all invited to join us for japa in 2.5 hours if you like. And then there's a class at 4 o'clock. I think for the devotees in Panama, but I'm not sure of the topic yet. Hold on. Nope. No class at 4. That was 4 a.m., which I had canceled this morning because of my health. That's their Bhagavatam class in Nigeria time, and I had to do it at 4 a.m. yesterday, or day before. I said, I don't think I can get up at 3:30 because I'm trying to recover from whatever it is I have, and I need to rest. So, yeah, we'll see you in 2.5 hours if you want to chant with us. And there's a few things going on this weekend. And Hare Krishna to all of you. And always remember, Krishna is watching you. He wants to see what you're doing. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.